Hello, fellow Tarnished. I'm Stonebear13. It's time to go get all the sorceries and incantations available in the Weeping Peninsula. Last time we started off with sorceries, so it's only fair that this time we start off with incantations. And for our first one, we'll head to the Castlemorn Rampart site of Grace. Head south following the road through the broken wall. Once you're through, stay to the left of the road and go between the ruins and the rocks. As you head through to the trees, you'll see a scarab out in the field. Kill it, and you'll be rewarded with Poison Mist. This incantation has an FP cost of 18 per cast, and with a low faith requirement of 12, it's available fairly early game. The poison cloud you release is extremely potent, giving 10 poison buildup per tick in a very large area. On top of that, casting this does not pull aggro or alert enemies to your presence, allowing you to poison them from a safe distance away. Plus, it doesn't wake any sleeping enemies, giving you some really crazy builds to try out. For our next incantation, we're going to be going back to the Castlemorn Rampart site of Grace. This time, we're going to head west, beyond the ruins, to find a little path heading up a hill. Follow the path up the hill and past the cabin. And when you start hearing the rats, take a left and head towards the cliffside. Here, we'll head down using the tombstone-shaped platforms. At the bottom, mine the bats, and kill the scarab to be rewarded with the incantation Lightning Strike. This beefy incantation will require 28 faith to use, and with FP cost of 21 and a stamina cost of 32 per cast, it's relatively expensive in that regard as well. This is a Dragon Cult incantation. Not to be confused with Dragon Communion incantations, this is boosted with the Gravelstone seal, resulting in a 20% increase. The damage that this deals isn't bad, and considering that it's a multi-hit attack, its range isn't bad either. Although this lightning pattern may seem random, it is actually consistent, and figuring out the exact pattern will maximize your damage with this incantation. While this may seem relatively impressive, unfortunately, especially if you're choosing to go the route of Dragon Cult incantations, there are going to be better options available. But this is still a really strong incantation, and definitely worth picking up. Our next incantation will be the Flame of Frenzy, and to get it, we'll head to the Ailing Village outskirts site of Grace. Once there, head south to the Kalu Baptismal Church. Inside, resting against a pillar, will be a corpse with this incantation. The Flame of Frenzy, to nobody's surprise, is a Frenzied Flame incantation, and it can be boosted by the Frenzied Flame seal. Having a faith requirement of 16, this only costs 16 FP to use, and honestly, it's a relatively strong incantation. This emits a large number of yellow flames from your eyes that deals pure fire damage, and enemies hit will end up with 21 madness buildup. You aren't immune, as you end up with about 4 madness buildup per flame released. And this can be charged, increasing the amount of flames that are released, as well as the amount of madness buildup. While fire can be resisted by some enemies, it is also the single most boostable damage source in all of Elden Ring, and this incantation is no exception. Our final incantation is fairly straightforward. This is Divine Fortification, and with a faith requirement of 10 and a cost of 20 FP, it gives you a 90-second buff for a 35% boost to your holy damage negation. It can be cast while in motion, and it's relatively useful for any enemies that deal pure holy damage that you find yourself struggling against. To get Divine Fortification for ourselves, we're going to head to the Tombsword site of Grace. From there, go northwest, towards the Tombsword ruins. When you arrive, look left to the largest ruin structure. Up top, there'll be a scarab that will reward you with this incantation. To get our first sorcery, we'll start at the south of the Lookout Tower side of Grace. From there, we're going to head northwest to the Demi-Human Forest ruins. Go inside, and you'll find a ton of demi-humans, as well as demi-human Queen Maggie. Fell her, and you'll be rewarded with her staff, as well as the sorcery, Crystal Burst. Requiring 18 intelligence to use, and costing 14 FP per cast, this spell fires a shotgun-style explosion of crystals from the end of your staff. It is one of the worst sorceries in the entire game, and it very well may be why this peninsula is weeping. Although it can be charged, and it says it can be cast repeatedly and while in motion, its cast is clunky, it has a terrible range, the damage is pitiful, and honestly, even in the best case scenario where every single one of these shards hits, it doesn't result in anything that other spells can't do. It requires way too many circumstances to be effective, and even at its most effective, it's still mediocre. To get our final sorcery in the Weeping Peninsula, we'll start from the 4th Church of Marika and head south to the Witchbane Ruins. Once you arrive, head down the stairs and loot the body to get yourself Ambush Shard. Unlike Crystal Burst, this sorcery is actually useful. With an intelligence requirement of 23 and an FP cost of 16 per cast, this night sorcery actually has some utility. Being semi-invisible, enemies won't try to dodge when you cast it, and on top of that, it strikes from behind, meaning that enemies with a shield are entirely defenseless. And although it's a night sorcery, it is not boosted by the Staff of Loss, so it does have some relatively low damage potential. Regardless of low damage potential, considering its only contention is Crystal Burst, it is by far the best sorcery to pick up in Weeping Peninsula. Using this to bypass shielded enemies or bosses can be extremely helpful, and although the damage isn't fantastic, getting a little extra chip in there could really make all the difference in a close fight. My number one incantation in the Weeping Peninsula was actually a really difficult pick. Poison Mist, Lightning Strike, and Flame of Frenzy all have some really strong utility. However, in the end, I did go with Flame of Frenzy. The madness build-up is really useful in PvP, the range is impressive, and this incantation can be buffed by so many different sources that it's hard not to have this as the number one pick. And that's all the sorceries and incantations available in the Weeping Peninsula. I hope this video's been helpful for you, and if you've enjoyed it, please leave a like or a comment, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of all of my upcoming Elden Ring content. Once again, I'm StoneBear13. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.